Hey, welcome to the November edition of the How to Podcast series. What are we doing this month? We're doing an episode every single day for the month of November. Yeah, that's a lot of podcast episodes, Dave. And what I want to do is I want to shine a light on amazing podcasters who are doing great things in podcasting. I want you to meet some of my friends. Now, these are friends that I've met through this podcast. These are friends that I've met by being on their show. These are friends that have been at our meetups. These are friends who I cherish and I think are people that you need to know. The best way to grow podcasting is word of mouth marketing, telling people about people's shows. That's what this is all about for the month of November. It's all word of mouth. You're going to hear from them come on and talk about their podcast. You're going to hear clips from shows. You'll have links to go follow these amazing people. And I want to give you a variety of different amazing podcasters for you to fall in love with. And you found the right spot. This is November. It's all about the listeners. It's all about you. And I want to shine a light on some amazing people. Are you ready? Okay. Let's jump into this because I think you're going to love this. And I'm glad you're here. And what I can't wait for is the day when you and I get to interact. I can't wait for us to meet each other at our meetups, online, through the link in the notes attached to this episode, where you and I can meet each other and I can be there in your corner to support you. I would love to do that. So here's another example of one of my friends at their show, and I want you to fall in love with them just as much as I have. Okay? Welcome to the How to Podcast series. It's November. It's National Podcast Post Month. It's 30 episodes in 30 days, and I want you to meet some of my favorite people in this world called podcasting. It's all about them. It's not about me. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Check out one of my friends. You ready? You ready? Okay, here we go. Well, it might seem weird for me to promote my own show, but one thing I do get is people a little weird look in their eye when they're like, you got more than one podcast? Well, actually, yeah, I have 8 altogether. And this is another one of my shows. It's called Dad Space, podcast for dads by dads. And why do I have this show? Again, I felt like there's a gap in the world and that dads deserve a space where they can come and hang out with other dads and learn from each other, help each other grow, be a support for each other, because being a dad can be quite lonely, especially for our single dads out there listening, or divorced dads, or empty nest dads like myself. It can be quite lonely to be a dad as life goes on and you kind of feel a little bit put on the shelf, maybe, let's put it that way. And the interesting thing about my show is when I created this podcast, I was narrowly focused on dads. But the joy for me as a podcaster on Dad Space is the majority of my listeners are actually female, which I did not plan for. I did not anticipate, but I find it to be a joy for me to know that somebody is finding value in this content beyond my initial targeted audience. So a lesson for you as a podcaster, definitely focus in on the audience that you want to talk to, build the podcast for them, speak to them, but be open to everyone. Don't hold anybody out. Don't block anybody from listening to your show. You really can't do that anyway, but allow anybody who wants to come on in, listen to the conversation, and take away what they want to take away, even though the content is not specifically designed for them. It's a great example of a podcast that's reaching far beyond what I originally planned. So here's a little bit from the very first episode of Dad Space, just to give you a sense about the show. And again, I just wanted to shine the light on another podcast designed for a certain group of people. And the guests that I have on the show are amazing. I love it. And it's a great way to build up dads. So if you know a dad, if you are a dad, I would love for you to share the show with them. It's called Dad Space at dadspace.ca. Here's a little bit of the opening trailer from the very beginning, the very first episode of Dad Space. Wow. I'm going to have fun listening to this myself. But here we go. Here's Dad Space. Thanks for listening.
And now, on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dad Space, a podcast designed for dads by dads. My name is Dave. I live in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, just outside Niagara Falls. Big hill, lots of water, lots of tourists, and it's a beautiful place to live. Love Canada. And wherever you are listening to this around the world, thank you for taking time out of your schedule and for allowing me to be a part of your day. Dad Space is a unique space for dads. We want to create a community of dads and invite on guests who will feed us as fathers, give us information, support, challenge us, and so just help us to grow as a dad and become the best father and leave a legacy for our kids, for our families, for our spouses on how we can be the best in this role as a father, as a dad. I have 3 grown children. I'm an empty nester. I have all of their stuff still here. A very quiet house. My wife and I, we're adjusting to the newness of an empty nest. So what a perfect time to start a podcast. When you have all this free time, I don't have to drive people around to appointments and sporting events and school, and I don't have kids coming over and eating all the food out of my fridge. It's a very interesting time as a dad. And what I really wanted to do was capture and share with my kids via a podcast and share with other dads. We're launching the podcast in and around Father's Day 2022. And the idea is that this would be a perfect gift that you could share with your father, your dad, stepdad, grandfather, soon-to-be dad. And it's an option and a way to share some information. I know the moment that I walked out of the hospital carrying my oldest, Macmillan, when he was born, you put them in the little baby carrier thing and you walk out to your car and nobody follows you home. Nobody comes in to make sure you're doing it right. Nobody gives you a list of instructions. And you walk out of the hospital and it's a weird feeling that I am no longer just going to be taking care of myself, taking care of my spouse. But now there's someone else in life that is completely dependent on me to show up, to provide, and to be an example. I wish 20 plus years ago that there was a podcast where a guy like me was out there creating content for me to consume, to grow, and to be exposed to great guests, authors, speakers, motivation, people who can talk about mindset, people who can talk about mental health, people can talk about physical health, people who can give me the tips and tools and tricks and suggestions to help me be the best possible dad. I don't want to do this alone. You don't want to do this alone. And that's why Dad Space was created. I just really wanted to have a space for you and for me to connect with great people who can help us to be the best dad, no matter where you are on that stage, no matter what level you're at. If you're walking to the hospital with a brand new baby in your hands, if your teenager is giving you the side eye, if your kids have packed up and left and moved on with their lives, if grandchildren are starting to sprout up in and around your family. There's so many different things that a dad experiences. And even though this podcast is designed for dads, I do anticipate that some other listeners will come our way. Moms, single parents. So many people will access this information. And I want you to know that whoever you are in life, however you identify, you have a safe space here. We're going to provide as much information, knowledge, and support possible. Our website's being created. It'll be dadspace.ca. It's coming. But for now, reach out to us through our social media. Reach out and connect with us. Again, we're on all the social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and more coming, obviously, as things change. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for taking a chance on a new podcast. I know it can be interesting, but I will show up for you, and I hope that you show up for this episode. And more importantly, you show up for your family on a regular basis. Take what you've learned here from our great guests from these episodes and apply it to your family, and let's see the results. Dads, fathers, grandfathers, stepdads, you got this. Dad Space is here for you. Looking forward to the next episode. Here we go. This is the trailer. Episode number 1 is coming. We're going to come flying out of the gates. Enjoy Dad Space. And guys, thank you so much for listening. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to Dad Space today. Go check us out on all of our social media, YouTube, all that great stuff. You can find us as Dad Space Podcast. Real simple. Dad Space Podcast, whether you're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even YouTube. Email us, dadspacepodcast@gmail.com. We're always looking for great guests to come on the podcast. If you have any feedback for us, what do we do good? What do we need to work on? Let us know here at Dad Space. Looking forward to connecting with you on the next episode. It's coming up right now. Just let this keep playing and it'll automatically come. Follow us on your podcast app for more, so you know when the latest episode of Dadcast comes out. Thank you so much for listening. Talk soon. Cheers. To you, Dad. Thank you. So that's Dad Space. That's the original. Wow, that takes me back. Takes me back to the beginning. I love that. Yeah, we are definitely having a good time over on Dad Space. I'd love for you to come join the conversation. Again, if you know a dad, you are a dad, you've been a dad, you're going to become a dad, a grandfather, a stepdad, you've adopted kids, or you just miss your dad, come over to Dad Space. I'd love for you to come join the conversation. Check out our amazing guests. Check out the show. And if you would, please share the show with somebody. Tell somebody about Dad Space and say, that Dave guy who has all those podcasts, he's got this podcast called Dad Space, and I think you're going to like it. Because when you tell somebody about a show that you think they're going to like, most likely, a lot of likes in that sentence, most likely they're going to listen to it because they trust you. You're not going to steer them in the wrong direction. You're going to suggest something that's terrible. So I hope that you enjoy Dad Space and that you can share it with somebody in your world, your coworker, your boss, your friend, your neighbor, your family. And come join us at Dad Space at dadspace.ca. Thank you for allowing me to throw my own show into the mix. So that makes me happy that you would stick through this and listen. But again, more great podcasters coming up here in the month of November, all around promoting other great podcasts that you should fall in love with, you should go listen to. And if you add Dad Space to the list, that would make me quite happy. So thanks for listening. Happy November, everybody. Take care. So I love being a podcaster. I love meeting these great people. And I love the fact that you press play on this episode and that you're still here. That tells me that there's something here for you. And if you're like, Dave, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of this community and I want to spend some time with you. There's a link in the show notes. It's just for you. You and I can get together and chat about your podcast, answer any questions you have. And the most important thing is we get to meet each other. So if you feel like you've been podcasting alone, you should never podcast alone. You should podcast in a group. We have a community just for you. And I, Dave, would love to be part of your community. HowToPodcast.ca is where you can find me, find our amazing community, and meet the people you've met here today on this episode. So, what are you waiting for? Stop podcasting by yourself. Reach out. I would love to talk to you. Happy National Podcast Post Month. We'll talk soon. Thank you for being part of the community, and thank you for listening to this episode. HowToPodcast.ca. Take care.